Hey everybody, my name is Larry and I am the new youth pastor at First United Methodist Church Rockwall, and I am so excited not only to be introducing myself to y'all, but also to get to share a little bit about the Bible in today's devotional. Now, I am originally from Maryland, right outside Washington, D.C. I went to college in Connecticut. I was a Peace Corps volunteer in Ukraine. And then after that, I went to seminary in Atlanta, Georgia, where I met my amazing girlfriend, Kelsey. But immediately after seminary, we became a long-distance couple as she pursued her PhD in the Old Testament at Southern Methodist University right here in Dallas. And at the same time, I was serving as a youth pastor up in the Boston area, focusing on working with children and youth. So I am excited to be here with y'all, continuing in that work with your youth. But of course, I'm also really excited to be here with Kelsey, finally living in the same city again for the first time in 3 years. Now, while I'm excited to be here, I'll be honest and say that these are also very strange circumstances to try and become integrated into a community of faith, because we're not able to see one another face to face. And so we have to find interesting and creative ways to connect, either over Zoom or from a social distance. And while it's been great to get to meet so many of y'all that way, there are times when I honestly feel inadequate, like I don't have the right stuff or I don't have enough. And I know that many of y'all, you're probably feeling the same way in your own jobs or in your own family life, right? I mean, this is an incredibly difficult season where all of us are sort of pushed to our limits. Many people feel like they don't have the right stuff, they don't have enough when it comes to working remotely. Many people feel like they don't have the right stuff, they don't have enough when it comes to parenting from home with their kids there full time because school is canceled. Many people feel like they don't have the right stuff, they don't have enough in a very literal sense of, I just lost my job or the stock market decimated my savings, right? This has been a very difficult season for all of us, and it's so easy to think that we just don't have enough. And so I want to share a message with y'all today that was inspired by a sermon I heard recently by Pastor Chris Beal that actually came from a passage of scripture that I had read not too long ago during my daily devotional reading, but it was one of those passages of scripture where the first time I read it, I couldn't really see how God was speaking to me through it. And then when I heard it in a sermon, it all clicked together for me. And I think this may click together for many of you as well. Because even if we don't think we have enough, I really do believe that God has given us more than enough. So let me read this story to y'all. It's from the Old Testament. It's from the book of 2 Kings, chapter 4, verses 1 through 7. Now the wife of a member of the company of prophets cried to Elisha. Elisha was one of the prophets in the Old Testament. Your servant, my husband, is dead. And you know that your servant feared the Lord, but a creditor has come to take my 2 children as slaves. Now, pause right quick here. What this woman is saying is that her husband has died. She's in a financial mess, and it's so bad that the bank is coming to literally take her children and sell them as slaves, because according to Mosaic law, that was one of the ways that you could settle a debt, was by selling your children. That's not a good situation to be in. So let's read on. Elisha said to her, "What shall I do for you? Tell me, what do you have in the house?" That's an important question here. What do you have? She answered, "Your servant has nothing in the house except a jar of oil." Listen to her response. "I've got nothing at all." He said, "Go outside, borrow vessels from all your neighbors, empty vessels, and not just a few. Then go in and shut the door behind you and your children and start pouring into all these vessels. When each is full, set it aside." So she left him and shut the door behind her and her children. They kept bringing vessels to her, and she kept pouring. When the vessels were full, she said to her son, "Bring me another vessel." But he said to her, "There are no more." Then the oil stopped flowing. She came and told the man of God, and he said, "Go and sell the oil and pay your debts, and you and your children can live on the rest." So what do we see in this story from the Bible? We see that this woman, she has a mentality that many of us have in this difficult situation that we're in, that we have nothing, that we're not good enough, that we don't have the right stuff, or we just don't have enough. We just feel like I'm inadequate, or that, in a very literal sense, maybe financially I don't have enough, I don't have the right skills, whatever it is, I have nothing. So many of us feel that way right now. We have a scarcity mentality. But then Elisha the prophet says to her, "What do you have?" That's an invitation for us not to focus on scarcity, what we don't have, but what we do have, to focus on the abundance of what God has given us. Because even in situations where we may feel like we don't have anything, God has still given you something. And that something that you have, whether it's a little bit of money, whether it's a little bit of time, a little bit of energy, or some unique skill set that you have, you can use that to be a blessing to the world and to people around you. You can bless your family like the woman did in this story. You can bless your friends. You can bless your local church. You can bless a local organization. God has already given you what you need to be a blessing to others. And so I really encourage you not to focus on the scarcity. Don't think, what don't I have? Think about abundance. Think about, what do I have? And then use that thing that you have to go forth and bless the world around you. And so, friends, I hope that you can do that. And I hope that this message was as meaningful for you as it was for me when I first heard it. And really, friends, I can't wait to get to meet so many of y'all in person whenever that day comes. But in the meantime, remember, don't focus on what you don't have. Focus on what you do have.